We are live with George Giant Slayer. We're going to be talking about the end of woke and Harry and Meghan. We're going to be showing clips from George's documentary, Woke is Dead. This is the funeral. Watch the eulogy. And, you know, with Trump coming in and signing the executive orders and reversing a lot of this stuff, it's especially pertinent right now, isn't it? And how long has this project been in the works for you, George? And huge thank you for coming back, my friend.
Oh, always a pleasure. Always great to see you. Always. I've been working on it for 3.5 years. I poured myself into it. I was just waiting for the election to see, what was going to happen. But spent a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to put it together. Kind of like documenting the crazy as it happened.
Did you have a time frame on when you calculated that the pendulum would start to swing the other way, or were you just anticipating it would eventually?
Well, no, like everything, history's a cycle. So I was like, I started to see the swings happening when Hollywood studios, because, I always follow that. When the Hollywood studios began to take notice, and when they started attacking YouTubers and critics, and they were like, you're like, okay, if they were all powerful, they wouldn't be sitting here. What the heck? Something has gone wrong with my camera. My apologies. When
we can hear you fine.
Okay, great. When the studios started to attack reviewers, movie critics, people with, their own independent thoughts, I was like, okay, this is where it's beginning to swing. Of course, it took several years, and we still have a long way to go to finally bury woke, which is why I wrote it. Because you're always going to have, kind of like after World War II, you still had Japanese fighters isolated on islands who are carrying on the work of the emperor. They're like, no, we're going to fight till the end. We're still going to have kind of like those guerrillas of the ideology who are going to continue to battle for woke. So whenever you have an idea that enters into the world, I've always viewed like 3 basic things happen. It takes off and it becomes like the sun. Everybody embraces it and it shines brightly. It's good and positive. Or it's something dark like woke and it darkens the skies. But third, once it's rejected, it's buried. So I'm like, we need to have kind of like an official funeral where everybody comes together. They rally together like a battle cry and go, this is done. Here's the funeral. We're burying it. Because anyone that comes after that and says, no, it's still here, they look like lunatics.
Right. That raises so many questions, George. And I find this subject fascinating. How did it get so prevalent whereby our schools, our police, our government, they're all enforcing these laws that, with hindsight, when Trump signed the executive order, some of it just seems it goes completely against common sense.
Oh my God.
How did it get that extreme and that prevalent?
Well, I can just tell you just what happened 2 days ago in Colorado, and I'll answer the question. 2 days ago in Colorado, the Colorado legislature passed a bill that if you misgender your child, the state can take away your kid. Take away, snatch, grab, gone. Done. That's the woke insanity. And woke pretty much started, the original idea of woke started around the 50s, which was about equality. Good. Well, it started off as something good, but like everything else, it got hijacked. This modern rendition of woke is nothing more than an ideology that was targeted to losers, to the lazy, to people who were broken. It's like I say in the video, woke was given to every broken toy in the world. And they told them that you can feel normal if you go out and break the world. And think about how many people are lazy today. How many people don't want to work? How many people think that life should be easy? We've seen TikTok videos, Instagram reels, YouTube shorts where you hear somebody who's like, why do I have to work? I was listening to some of these videos as I was writing. They're like, why do I have to work? I'm 25 years old and I'm losing the majority of my life having to work from 9 to 5. And that's just to pay my bills. That's just to feed my face. How come? What kind of unjust society is this that someone is not paying for everything, feeding me so I can live my life? I'm like, that's who they went after. And they built up an army. But the problem is common sense always rules. So it's been trying to kick crazy to the curb for a long time. And it's the fact that people who aren't plugged into the news on a daily basis or to social media, They were having to find out about it word through mouth. If it hadn't happened in their state, if they hadn't known someone that it occurred to, if their child hadn't been impacted, it had to hit them. And when it started happening in the pocketbook in this country, when woke ideologies really were embraced by the mainstream political establishment, the government, and that started impacting people's finances, where, eggs here in certain states were costing $18 a dozen. People are like, wait, why is this happening? So then they start going down the rabbit hole and go, oh, I see. And that started waking people up. You started seeing more Hollywood movies becoming box office bombs, no matter how much money they spend, because people are like, look, I want to have these conversations with my child at a time when I'm ready to. I just want you to entertain me. Stick to storytelling. Don't give me lectures. And so it trickled out through there. Then you have the mainstream media, which is another monologue I'm writing about right now. It'll take me a little while, but about kind of like how we went from the news being a trusted source when it originally began to what it's become today, which is basically a commercial break for pharmaceutical ads and lobbyists. So that's pretty much where woke started. Appeal to losers, promise them that they'll feel special and be special as long as they break the world.
So with Trump signing these executive orders and stuff at the federal level, does that still mean that there's still a huge woke movement trying to counteract what Trump is trying to achieve? It's not just gone away overnight, has it? Is there a battle going on?
There is a battle going on, but it's primarily an AstroTurf battle. Like they had the April 5th, where it's like everybody, all these what I call rent-a-rioters went across the country in different states. And they're like, we're taking our nation back from Trump. How dare Trump and Musk, try to clean out fraud and waste from the government? How dare they go after these embedded bureaucrats who have built their kingdoms over the last 20 years? But that's not how they sell it. They're like, keep your hands off of our health care, our Medicare, or Medicaid. They're like, wait a minute, nobody's touching that. They've said it a million times. They're just going after the fraud, the people who are on the rolls illegally, the people who are abusing it. So yeah, there is, but it's primarily funded. It's not what I would consider to be a natural movement, a grassroots movement that has grown up. Again, you got the kooks and the quacks. And then you have the NGOs, which have been starved of funds lately, which are supporting it with whatever they have left.
So what were your thoughts on US aid when it all came out about the various directions money was going to for US aid?
You mean like the $72,000 that went to Ireland so they could put on a play called DEI? Because there's nothing like DEI in song form, or Vietnam or Ecuador, or for trans surgeries and plays and theatrical musicals. Or what was it? Was it Botswana or Thailand, where it was $7 million, where they spent money to train journalists how not to use, non-binary, non-gendered language, not to abuse it, to properly write their pieces. It's nuts. Again, but that's how they were able to build steam, spend all this money coming from USAID, which is basically a slush fund, and hook people up to it so their paychecks are connected to it, right? It's kind of like if you want to, because I love the UK, that. It's like my cousin's across the pond. I have family there. And so I wrote a little bit about it in the woke monologues. And now I'm, again, writing a third monologue about the United Kingdom because I want to help as much as I can. And I was looking at the National Health Service, and I was like, how many people does it employ? I'm like, how could you ever look to reform it, to make it the best it could possibly be, to weed out having issues with being able to provide proper medical care. And what I mean by that is there are many instances when I've been researching at the NHS where people need dialysis treatment, but they almost take this line where they look at your age, they look at your possible lifespan, like, oh, you don't fit yet, you get pushed to the back of the bus. And you're like, how would you reform that when my last counting was 1.5 million to 2 million employees? Like, so you've built a network that is going to fight to protect itself. That's the same thing Trump's doing. He's trying to unravel that. People who've built careers. There was a contract that went out for the Department of Education where a contractor, a consultant, was paid $1.5 million for 1 year just to count how many pieces of mail went to the Department of Education.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane stuff.
So could they have got away with this if it hadn't have gotten so extreme? Did the extremity sow the seeds of its own destruction?
It did, because they pushed it too far, too fast, too quickly. If they had slowed it down, it would have been much, much more dangerous. And they're still not giving it up. They're still not giving it up because, again, you have people's wallets are attached to it, their political power. It's like anything. It's like, how many organizations exist today where their primary battle, charities, 501c3s, foundations, is to fight racism? They're saying systemic racism. There is no systemic racism in the United States of America. You have good people, you have bad people. And bad people you will never get rid of. They've been here since the beginning of time. They'll be here till the end of time. But is there a systemic processism in play? No. But those organizations, let's say once they won, once they achieved their goals, they didn't just go, okay, we're going to close up shop, or let's target something else that needs to be corrected and fixed. They just continue to push their agenda, which means they can never allow there to be harmony or unity. Division is the only way they get dollars. And that happens across the board.
So is there a chance then, let's just hypothetically, if the Democrats get in and they are as militant for woke as they have been previously, could it all just resume again?
It could. If everything that President Trump is saying does not come true, if half it, if the economy doesn't get fixed, if America's engine doesn't kick back up, obviously the Democrats will come back in and they will feel emboldened, especially after hating him and knowing that he won't be able to return. They will double down. But right in there, again, it will be their undoing. It's exactly what they did after Barack Obama when they had Joe Biden come in. They didn't do it slowly. They just shoved it right in your face, like Colorado, like I just mentioned at the top when we first started speaking, passing legislation that if you misgender your child, the state can take it away from you. That's not going to last long. People, I don't care how much support there is in the state for you, you're going to find a family who's going to be talking to the kid and going, son, daughter, I don't agree with this. And you want to do what you do when you're an adult, you go for it. But you're under my house. It's my responsibility to build you a proper foundation, to help you build a solid character. And when they lose their kid, that's gonna kick off a firestorm. So yeah, if the Democrats were able to get back in, which I don't think is going to happen after Trump is out of office, especially the way things are projected to go in the future, I think then it'll be official that it's done.
All right, so if you just tuned in, I'm here with George the Giant Slayer, and all of his links, including his YouTube channel, are in the description box, his website, Instagram, Twitter. Please support and follow his work. We're talking about the end of woke and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They're all going down, according to the videos on George's channel. And if you've got any questions, put them in the chat. And the first question is from Fifi. I want to know how George Soros recruits his professional protesters and how much do they get paid?
The pay varies depending on reports. I'm not one of them, so I wouldn't know, but they usually find them through their NGOs, which used to get funded through USAID and through various slush funds and extra expenditures that would go to different government agencies. What they would do, I'll give you an example. The EPA, the new EPA administrator, had stopped $20 billion that had been assigned by Biden's staff out the door. It was put in an offshore bank account to fund hundreds of charities, non-governmental organizations. And they use that money then to hire people, push their agenda. That's pretty much how it happens. But basically what that means is that taxpayers were paying for their own destruction. It wasn't coming out of George Soros's pocket. George Soros used USAID like his bank account. Same thing for the Clintons, same thing for Bill Gates. Yes, they use some of their own money, but they primarily use the resources that the government has provided for them. And the same organizations for staff, for people power. Hey, that's how look at these. You want to see a natural grassroots protest, meaning that people are upset and they come together. You can go back and look at the 60s. You go look at the old video. You had hippies running around. Some people painted a sign on their chest, some on a bulletin board, some on a shirt, some on a card. Here, anytime there's a protest, they all have the same poster board. They all have the same script, and you can see it online. where you'll have like, oh my God, media. Like, look, we just grabbed a hold of one of the scripts that someone decided to share with us. And it says, say these lines. Elon Musk must go. Trump is bad. Or they're all repeating it with, again, same hat. And that's funding. That's a mechanism. That's a machine that's been built. That's not natural and organic.
So Professor Hamamoto is in the chat, and he said labor unions like SEIU provide bodies for staged demos.
Absolutely, he's correct, except that is changing now, because what you have is the Services Employees International Union, because of the way Trump is doing the tariffs, are now, which shocks CNN and a lot of the Democrats and Democratic activists, they're like, wait a minute, you are now supporting President of the United States, and that happens to be President Trump. They're like, well, he wants to bring jobs back to America. He wants to bring manufacturing back to America. Tariffs used to be a part of our country. I mean, they were founded on the fact that, look, what did the president say? He goes, my end goal is to have zero tariffs that are reciprocal with every country. So everyone can sell whatever they want to everyone. That's fair. You want to sell your cars here? Good. We want to sell our cars there too. That's good for us both. Whoever makes the best product and makes what people want, that's who wins. I think that's fair and balanced. And so you're having labor unions who've been ignored since basically the 90s, talking about 90,000 factories have closed since NAFTA was put into place. 15 to 22 million jobs have either been exported or onshored, where they had people come in from foreign countries and then replace the people here at half the price. So that's what he's trying to correct. And I think that's something that every country should do. When he says like America first, he's saying UK should have the same model. UK first, Italy first, Germany first. That way you take care of your citizens.
Yeah, it's tricky, and there's all kinds of debates about the tariffs in economics.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and even if you level the tax playing field, you get domestic governments subsidizing domestic companies, which makes it unfair, from that angle as well. So yeah, it's really complex. So Tashel is saying, with all of this dismantling and divide, how will Trump restructure the government for success?
Well, the first thing that he's trying to do is he's trying to get rid of what he calls the dead weight. Again, bureaucrats who've been there for years, who built up kingdoms and their little fiefdoms, and they're trying to enact, like they're acting as if they were elected, pushing out agendas of their own, because they're like, look how bloated the government. So his first goal is, well, he wants to thin it down to make it as efficient as possible. Then he wants to restructure it by moving a big portion of Washington and the federal bureaucracy out into the country. He's like, okay. He says the Department of Education should not exist. It should be upon every state. You can apply the same money. He goes, why would you have a federal department running everything? When he goes, just take that money and divide it out into the states and let them run it, because that's local. Each state knows what's best for it, and each state therefore is represented by its people. They're going to elect the legislators and representatives they want, and when they don't do what they want, they're going to pull them out. So that's what he wants to do. It's the same way they're talking about the FBI, breaking it up and moving more people into all the field offices, the EPA for the same thing. You should be in the places where they actually need you, not sitting on your butt in Washington. So those are the keys.
All right, we're now going to show you couple of minutes of George's video, Woke is Dead, and get your perspective on it, viewers. And if you've got any more questions, put them in the chat. So I'm going to start this at 9:50 and end at 11:10, I think it was. There we go. So let us know in the chat what you think about this. George has spent years working on this, so it better be good.
Now, the reality is they only did this for one reason. So every broken toy in the world could feel normal by breaking the world. That's when the oppression industry celebrated its grand opening. They hung up new signs. Victims wanted, now hiring. Hate became the new economy. Victimhood, the new currency. Resentment, a new trust fund. And everyone was drafted into the war. That's when they turned around and told us that smoking was still bad for you, but weed was a superfood, fat was healthy, and 3 Big Macs a day kept the doctor away, because big wasn't bad, it was just the beginning. Lizzo would become your new role model because nothing says empowerment quite like diabetes in a thong. That's when mothers-to-be would be known as pregnant people, because woman had become a slur. When tampons were marketed for men, because misgendering a prostate was a mortal sin. When PETA sued SeaWorld for practicing dolphin slavery, but everyone in Seattle called a 6-month belly bump a clump of cells. That's when it all happened. When Victoria's Secret sadly swapped out their sexy angels for my next door neighbor and Playboy, the magazine I grew up with, sneaking peeks at behind my mother's back, now featured on its cover my girlfriend's dad in fishnets, proving once and for all the world had officially gone mad. That's when discrimination was rebranded